Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We're just going to give everyone a few minutes to join. I think there might be a few latecomers, but we're shortly going to be talking through all about Black Friday, Q4 holiday season, and how to maximise direct-to-consumer kind of Black Friday conversions. We've got Will on the line who'll do a introduction shortly, and then I'm going to be speaking a little bit more about email and SMS and how to boost customer loyalty and drive up Q4 revenue. So we'll just give everyone a couple more minutes. For those that are here, actually would love to know, whilst we're waiting, where in the world are you? There's a chat function down on the bottom right. So for those that are here, pop a little something in there to let us know where you are. Are you based in London? Are you further afield? Are you in the UK? Would love to know. And also good to see where that chat function is as well, because we'll use that for the Q&A session towards the end. Cool. So we'll just give everyone a couple more minutes and then we'll kick off.
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, that's 3 minutes. 3 minutes past. Should we get started? Will, do you think that's
let's
time?
Yeah, let's jump in.
Cool. Fab. Okay, so Will's driving today. So next slide. We'll just go through our agenda. So fab. So today what we're going to do is just cover some introductions, a little bit more about who Will is and who I am. Will then be talking through conversion rate optimization, how to maximize web conversions with a kind of focus on Q4. I will then also be talking a little bit more about customer retention, and we've got 8 strategies I'm going to talk through to help you retain more of your customers or more of your cyber weekend shoppers over the Q4 period. We've also got a little bit of a agency or in-house debate, which Will's going to lead on in terms of working with agencies, CRO agencies in particular. And then we'll open the floor to a Q&A. So we'll use the chat function for that, or feel free to come off mute and ask questions live. But without further ado, I think we'll dive straight in. So I'll do a quick introduction to myself. So I'm Georgie. I'm the founder of Peps. We're a life cycle marketing agency, so we specialize in working with direct consumer health and wellness brands, specifically in the email and SMS space. So what we do is we help clients attract, convert, and retain more of their customers using email and SMS. So all about that customer life cycle. Over the last 3 years, Peps as an agency has worked with a variety of sort of high growth health and wellness clients across both the UK and the US, from Hims, Planet Organic, Pret, and many others. And a bit of background on sort of how I've got to where I am today. So prior to launching the business, I was at House for just over 5 years, leading the international lifecycle marketing there. So House is a website and app for home redesign. So that's a little bit about me, and I'll hand over to Will now. He's going to do a quick introduction to himself before diving into CRO.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Will. I'm the founder of Customers Click. We're a performance-based CRO agency based in the UK. We have our methodology, which I'll be talking a bit about today, which we use to develop high impact testing programs to improve conversion rates, mainly focusing on conversion rates, average order value, generally driving up revenue for brands. We're performance based as well, so we only pay when we generate results. So I'm going to start off with just a little bit about what is CRO, because I know there's some. I don't think there's great knowledge out there outside of CRO itself about what it actually is. So obviously CRO does stand for conversion rate optimization, but it's not really the key thing for us. I won't go into this much now, but there's big debate in the CRO space about whether it should be CRO, conversion rate optimization, whether it should be experimentation or some other terminology. But essentially we're looking at how can we optimize a business towards the core KPI of profitable revenue. While we are mainly targeting conversion rates and average order values doing this, a lot of what we do is also just general business optimization. So it could even be, whether you should introduce new product lines. It should be whether you should ditch some. Do you have toxic products which when people buy, they never come back? We could look into customer service, the actual fulfillment process, all these sort of areas which, may not directly impact conversion rates, but are going to be a positive thing for the business. If we can improve fulfillment, for example, we're going to generate better reviews because people have a better service experience, and that's going to have that effect. CRO is not just A/B testing. A/B testing is just a tool to help us, experiment and test what we're trying to do. A lot of people think CRO is just running some A/B tests on a website. That's just a small part of what we do, just to kind of verify our research and our hypotheses and help drive that direction. So by optimizing for these 3 really important factors on websites, we're going to be converting people for the right reason and ideally at higher values. And that's what I'm getting into now. So this is where our UAM method comes in. So UAM starts with usability, and this is essentially, does your website work properly? It sounds quite simple, but here we're looking at, does it work on every browser? Does it work on every device? Do you have pop-ups that are appearing in weird places? Do you get widgets that are popping up and causing problems? So what people tend to do is they'll add a live chat widget, and then a bit later someone adds in the loyalty reward scheme widget, and then a bit later someone says, well, why don't we have a sticky add to cart button? And then suddenly on the mobile device, you've got 2 widgets that are set over the top of your call to action, and people can't buy your products. The other part of usability is how good a job does your website do at helping people actually navigate and find and buy what they're looking for. It's, obviously really important. A key part of this is navigation, which I've got an example of here. This is the Zalando website, I believe. I've tested some similar things. We've actually done some quite image-based navigation and using like Instagram story style images. But I think this works really well. And it's not actually the icons themselves. I don't think that matter as much. It's more just the fact that the icons are helping break everything out and set out that navigation structure. Just makes it easier to actually kind of absorb as a customer. But the key thing here is, as you can see, every category is clearly labeled. Apart from maybe everyday neutrals and adaptive fashion, you might not know what those are. Everything else on there is very obvious. You know what you're going to see when you click through. A big problem I see, and it happens in certain categories more than others, is where people use kind of branded navigation terms, and it just means nothing to a customer. I've seen this pop up in actually with custom motorbikes as one place, and custom PCs as well. Brands will use terms like the Ionic series, the Cyber series, the Mega Power series, something like that, and it tells the customer. It tells the customer absolutely nothing about what to expect when they click through their categories. Obviously, you're on a PC website, there's going to be different PCs, but you've got no way of knowing whether one is better for work, one's better for gaming. So your options are you either spend time assessing everything, or you just go to another website where they're clearer with the information. So navigation is really important. And some of the things you can do kind of right now in the lead up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So obviously run a heuristics analysis of your website. Does it work properly on all those devices and browsers? Are your pop-ups and widgets displaying correctly, unintrusively? Is navigation clear or clever? So that's what I was talking about there. Whether it's, does it tell you exactly what to expect when you click, or do people have to kind of figure it out after clicking? And are you using rich search? So, the basic search function on a website is you click it, it opens the search bar, offers you nothing, and you just you start searching, and then and it gives you some results when you hit enter. A rich search function will give you auto suggestions. It will give you popular searches. It will give you the ability to filter and sort once you've created that search, and it works hard to try to get you to the right place, as opposed to a standard search function, which is completely reliant on the customer kind of knowing what they're actually searching for. And have you got smart recommendations in place? It's not relevant to every business, every category, but if someone lands on a product page, however they do it, so whether it's search, navigation, or an ad, if they get to that product and they have a look at it and they decide this one's not quite the right one for me, how easily can they go and find something that's relevant to them? So that's where a good recommendations tool comes in place, and it can say, people who viewed this also viewed that. Sometimes it might be people who bought this also bought that sort of thing. So the second part of it is anxiety. So anxiety is, does your website answer your customers' questions about your products? And does your website answer your customers' questions about your business? So what is it they need to know about your products in order to make that purchase? It could be dimensions, weight, more technical specifications. If it's a consumable product, obviously people want to know what they're eating or drinking. So ingredients, particularly allergens. If someone has a dietary requirement and it's not made clear on your product page whether it's suitable for them, they have to assume no, and therefore they can't buy. So, and it's really easy as kind of marketers and people who run e-commerce brands to think, oh, this is really obvious, I don't need to explain that. We don't need to put too much information on the page. There's absolutely no harm in putting all the information on that page. You might think, using the food example, like chicken satay dish, you might think, well, it's obvious that's got peanuts in it or nuts, so we don't need to put that on there. And especially, someone like me, I don't have any dietary requirements, so it'd be easy for me to just not even notice that that's not there because I never look for it. But you're going to have people who do have these requirements. They might have even very specific requirements. I remember doing an interview for a food client earlier this year, and someone said that they, I can't remember if they said they were vegetarian. They were keen on vegetarian dishes, but they didn't want alternative. What's the term for it? Like alternative to meat.
Yeah.
Like meat substitutions. That's it. So they didn't want. I think they said tofu as well, but is it seitan? They didn't want the stuff that they felt was processed and fake. Really, they were happy to have a vegetarian dish that was just, switch out the meat for a vegetable. So understanding that information and making that really clear on the pages so that people know exactly what they're getting into when they make these purchases is really important. And then the same applies to your business as well. They want to know, are you a trustworthy business? What's your shipping policy? What's your returns policy? Some people might even go into the, are you environmentally friendly and all that sort of thing? How do I get in touch with the business? All these little things where really we're talking about, this is something that probably impacts them more post-purchase, but they want to know about it pre-purchase to know that they're, if they do have a problem, they're going to be sorted. So, putting a phone number on a website, putting an email address and stuff and live chat won't necessarily increase the number of contacts you get pre-purchase, but it means that people see it and they go, cool, you're easy to contact. If I have a problem with this product, not only do you offer free returns so I can send it back quickly, but you're easy to contact as well. So yeah, obviously the biggest example is reviews. So trying to make these as rich as possible is really good. Obviously this company's got 39,000 reviews, which is frankly incredible. But getting verified buyer on there, they've specifically said they recommend this product. If you can get product attributes as well, that all really helps. And so things you can do right now. So right now, make a personal request for reviews. So what I mean is try and do like a plain text email out to customers. particularly customers who you either know or think should have had a positive experience. But really, you can send to anyone. But when it's written, by a founder or even by head of customer service or something like that, it depends on the size of the business, determines who is the most appropriate person to be sending this. The plain text version just works a lot better in my opinion. People respond to it more because it feels like you've actually reached out to them and not just an automated review request. So get those out. So ask for imagery, ask for video, try and even ask people to just be detailed about their review, because getting 5-star reviews is great, but a 5-star review that says great working with this company isn't as valuable as one that goes into detail about, oh, I found this product, the product was amazing, I spoke to this person in customer service, they answered my questions, delivery was great, it goes into detail about it. So ask people to be detailed with the response. Optimize your social media accounts. So this, I guess, is an example of why CRO is more than just A/B testing on a website. A big thing about these days is people will go check a social media account if they don't know a business. So normally Instagram's one that pops up a lot now. So is your Instagram account verified? Are you posting fairly regularly and getting some sort of engagement, positive engagement, ideally? Can you get stories live, right? So that people see that it's an active account. And are you responding to comments? People generally go check. I've had this pop up in interviews again. People specifically saying they will check Instagram posts to see if people are leaving negative comments and are having to chase up a business to ask for, where their delivery is and this sort of thing. So if that's happening in your, on your Instagram posts, you need to try and fix that, which normally means better customer service, so that people don't have to go to the comment section. And as I mentioned just earlier, is customer service visible and available? So people want to know that if they've got a problem, they can contact a business easily. If they see, the live chat pop up, which says normally responds within 8 hours, that's not a great sign for people, right? So you've got to either remove that message completely or be active on it. But also try and gather, particularly on live chat, obviously, try and gather feedback from people before you let them know there's no one available, if that is the case. So don't kick off live chat with, we're not available at the moment, leave your query and an email and we'll get back to you, because people just close it and move on. Get them to, ask their query to the bot, which will say, I'm going to go find an agent for you. Oh, there's no one available. Drop your email in and we'll get back to you. Because then at least you're capturing this information, right? And you can start to analyze it. You can start to see what people are asking questions about. And then obviously you go back to them and you answer those questions, you fix those problems. But it means you can then go onto the website on your PDPs or whatever and add that information there so that people don't have to contact you. Just going to grab a drink. Be available more than 9 to 5. People obviously shop when they're not working. So try and offer support outside of 9 to 5. There are some great tools out there or services out there that will offer kind of either overflow or out of hours sort of support. So if you've got someone who covers 9 to 5, they will cover the 5 till 9, essentially. It's worth looking into if you don't want to have someone full time on those out of hour areas. And then we move into motivation, which is probably the most important factor to consider. This is essentially, does your website help customers see their desired outcome in your product? Right? What are they trying to achieve with your product? Do people understand this? Do they get excited about your product because they think it's going to help them? And then does your website motivate and encourage people to actually complete that purchase? So you can get someone a product page, but if that's all you do, they can't really do much. You can answer all their questions about a product. They can tick all those boxes, but if they're not excited by the prospect of having this product, if they don't really feel like it's going to be life-changing for them, they will sit on it and think, okay, I'll buy it later, or I'll have another look at it tonight, or I'll sort it out the weekend. We want to get people in a position where they're ticking all the boxes, they're looking at this product page and they're thinking, I need to order this now so that I get it at the quickest possible moment, and then it's helping me achieve my goals. So a great example, this is the same brand as the reviews from earlier. It's True Classic. They do this stuff all over their website. So this is actually, it's a GIF on their website, not an image. They've just got so much about how their t-shirts are going to make you look amazing. And they even in adverts, they have obviously staged, but they have actors who it's a guy wearing the t-shirt and a woman will come up and compliment them on the t-shirt, right? So that's kind of building that motivating factor, because it's kind of proving the point that these t-shirts make you look good, and that's what people want to achieve with it. So I'd go check out their website. They've got a lot of stuff on their website. That's pretty cool. So what can you do now? You can introduce some scarcity. So normally what I'd be suggesting is, speak to your customers, run some interviews, find out what people want to achieve, and then test some messaging, test some images on your website. But we're looking at, Black Friday is a month away. It's pretty much 4 weeks away, I think.
Not long.
Yeah. So, you haven't really got time to do that. So other things you can do, you can introduce scarcity. But it's got to be genuine. So think about, are there some exclusive bundles you can offer? Or, is there a new product, a limited edition version of a product that you can do? It's probably a little late for that, actually. But the key thing, it's got to be genuine. People have to feel like if they missed out on this, it's gone. And they're possibly never going to get that opportunity again. Or, if you do something in batches, like Batch London, if they miss out on it now, they're going to have to wait till Q1. They might have to wait till January to be able to buy again. Similarly, you can introduce urgency. So this is normally order it by X to get it Y. So order by 3 p.m. today, or have a countdown, and we'll be able to ship it. We'll ship it today, or it can be delivered Saturday, for example. I've tested out some various messaging here. With one brand, it'll be shipped today was the top performer. With another brand, we've had a specified delivery date perform best. So, this is something to test. You never really know which is going to work. But the key thing here is it's not pushing people. There's no pressure with this message, but it's still creating that urgency, because it's letting people know that the quicker they make their decision, the quicker they're going to get the product. Whereas, messages like 17 other people are looking at this right now doesn't really do anything. In fact, when I've tested out that messaging, it's generally not performed well, unless you were to probably combine it with the exclusive bundles. If you specified, I can't remember what brand did this. There was one, in fact, I've got 2 examples just popped into my head. One brand literally had a ticker of how many products they had left. So every time one got bought, it ticked down one. So you could literally see this thing on the page dropping down slowly. Another one I came across, which wasn't e-commerce, it was more like coaching. But the price started to increase as people bought it. So it'd be the first 50 people got it at this price. And then once 50 people had bought it, it jumped up in price. And then another 50 people could buy it at that price before it jumped up. So you might be able to do something on those lines. I don't know if that works so well with e-commerce. I think people will just be put off by having to pay a higher price. It might work really well with like a limited edition release or something like that. But it's worth testing, I think. And is your, like I said, is your messaging targeting key pain points and desires? Yeah, that's the most important thing, really. If I'm looking at a product and it's kind of ticking boxes, and I'm like, yeah, it's my dietary requirements are met, it's the price that I wanted at, other people seem to like it, but if I'm sat there going, do I really want this? Then the chance of me buying is much lower. Whereas I'm like, this looks like the most delicious dish, or whatever, or this is going to cure my skin problems, or this is going to be the best t-shirt I've ever worn, that sort of thing. That's what gets people to buy. And that's the most important factor. Equally, though, it doesn't work if you get the first bits wrong, the other bits wrong. So if you haven't answered those questions, if you don't answer the questions properly, but you really go hard on the motivation, what could happen then is people start buying, but then you get high returns rate, because then they realize, oh, this isn't actually quite right for me. But because you've got a free returns policy, I'll buy it anyway, give it a go. If it turns out to be wrong, I'll just send it back. So you have to do things right, get it in the right order. That's it for UAM. So if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments, and I'm going to hand over to Georgie.
Thanks, Will. It's really interesting breaking it down into those 3 pillars, and particularly the thing that rang quite true with me was your point around navigation. And I think you mentioned was it a motorbike brand that had their own names for different products. And I recently was looking at a website for buggies, of all things, having recently had a baby, and I was just firstly confused about the whole buggy situation anyway, because there's so many of the different types, but the website had different names for their different types of products, and you're not left any clearer at all as to where you should start, and you're always then making the customer do the hard work to sort of figure out exactly what they need, rather than that signposting element, which it's really interesting.
Another one that does it is mattresses. I came across one website that must have had, honestly, like 150 different options for mattresses, all on one page. And they were just like the premium, the standard, the premium, the luxury premium.
Yeah.
And then it started adding even more ridiculous titles. And you're like, I don't know, like hybrid and stuff. And you're like, I don't know what the difference is between these. I can filter it down to a size, and then I'm still left with like 30 products, and
and then you just give up and go somewhere else.
How many of those do I want to open a tab on and then spend time switching back and forth comparing them?
Exactly. Really interesting.
Cool.
So I'm going to spend a few minutes on the retention side. So nurturing email subscribers after Cyber Weekend is a super important factor. I think a lot of the time the effort goes into kind of building up to Cyber Weekend and the weekend itself. But it's really important to maintain that engagement and build those long-term relationships after Cyber Weekend, so that you've got those loyal customers. We all know holy grail of direct consumers is having a database full of repeat loyal purchasers or customers. So with that in mind, I want to spend a few minutes going through my top recommendations on how to capitalize on all your hard work that you've put in leading up to Black Friday. After all, once you put in that effort of acquiring new customers, you definitely want to make sure that you can keep them for the long run. So next slide, please, Will. Thank you. So first recommendation here is to act on your new Cyber Weekend insights. So you want to use your newfound insights to inform your campaign strategy going forward. So post Cyber Weekend, it can be really tempting to close the door and everything and forget all about it until next year. But you don't want to do that until you've done a sort of proper debrief and gathered those learnings. Learn from the experience, analyze your results, and gather insights for future planning, not just for next Black Friday, but also for your campaigns going forward. So think about identifying what worked well, what didn't, and what are the key learnings that can be applied for future sales and marketing campaigns. So although it's really, really tempting just to shut the door on it and move on, definitely recommend reviewing, reflecting on what went well, what didn't, and what you can improve on for next time. And another point here is, if you did see a drop in your email deliverability, and so that would be anything sort of below the 98% deliverability mark for your emails being delivered, then advice here would be to tighten the engagement criteria of your segments, and only message your most engaged subscribers over the next few weeks. This will help to rebuild your reputation and ensure that you reach your subscribers' inboxes as you begin to send more. So just have a sort of particular focus on that deliverability in terms of what happened over the last week or so post Black Friday, and you might need to tighten up those segments going forwards. And then as part of your Cyber Weekend follow-up, would recommend you might consider sending comms to customers such as deals on any excess products post Black Friday if you've got things you need to get rid of, highlight reels for best-selling products from the weekend to spark inspiration going forwards, and then also more content. So think about your content about your brand community or any key products for new subscribers. So there's plenty that you can still be talking about even after the weekend is over. So that's first strategy. Second one is to make sure your customer support is informed and personal. So actually quite interesting, building off what Will mentioned earlier. Black Friday, Cyber Monday are stressful experiences for a lot of shoppers. There's returns, delayed shipping times, out of stock products, and these issues can be quite big deterrents for customers when they're thinking about returning if something was handled poorly. So while sort of top-notch customer support is important year round, I think it's particularly important around Cyber Weekend. I think those shoppers are particularly delicate, which means that after checkout, your customer service strategy should really focus on that personalized outreach and really unifying shopper data. I think Will made a great point around making sure it looks as personal as possible. Maybe it's from the founder. You really want to make sure it's as easy and seamless as possible for customers, so that they're much more likely to return in the coming weeks and months. And my third thing here is to capitalize on post-purchase feedbacks. Again, kind of building on what Will was talking about earlier. I read the other day that last year almost 196 million people shopped during Cyber Weekend, which is mad, meaning that brands have lots of opportunity to gather that customer feedback. So reviews are really are an unmatched source of data that you can leverage down the line to market to your customers more effectively. So Will made a great point around making sure that you get really detailed customer reviews. It's not just saying that it was great, that they go into kind of what the delivery process was like, and all that sort of detail. So make sure that your review process is as hassle-free as possible. And one strategy you can think about, in addition to sending a more of a plain text email that Will mentioned, is also to ask for feedback via SMS. Customers don't even have to navigate to your website these days to be able to provide you with feedback. A great example that comes to mind is a skincare brand called Bubble. I read recently that they sent review requests via SMS, and that enabled them to double their monthly number of reviews, with a 66% higher conversion rate on review requests. So you've hopefully just got a whole new set of new customers in. Definitely use that opportunity to gather their feedback and use it to inform your strategy going forwards, and to work on and sort of find out things that you can work on going forwards and improve.
I've just got one quick question before we move on. You mentioned maybe trying to do something immediately after the weekend to sell stuff that didn't sell so well. Obviously, if it doesn't sell well, it's probably because no one wants it, or maybe it's just not as discounted and competitors discounting, whatever. Where do you stand on kind of grey area messaging, where maybe you said, this product was really, really popular over the weekend, so we've decided to extend the sale, even though it's not been selling. But maybe at least you've based it on, the product was getting a lot of views. Yeah. So it's getting a lot of attention and interest, but not purchases. So use that as kind of, I suppose, grey area messaging to say, we've extended the sale on this product for 24 hours.
Yeah, and it's sort of playing into that FOMO thing, isn't it? If you're talking about, other people bought this product and we think you might like it at this, you can get it now at a discounted rate. And I guess, yes, to some extent, I guess it might not have sold very well, which is why you've got excess. But I suppose on the other hand, it could be that it did sell well, but you still got extra, then you've got too much inventory. So I guess to answer your question, you can kind of sort of spin it however you like. I think you made a good point earlier, Will, around using your messaging to drive that urgency, or to put a bit of fear of missing out in place there. So I think you can be a little bit flexible. You're right, it's a grey area with how you want to spin your messaging, but if you've got that excess product, then it's your story to tell, I think, at the end of the day.
I think the key thing for me is that it's not just, we've extended for 24 hours. Because it's boring. It's what everyone does. And then you do it once, and then everyone expects it for the next week anyway.
100%. So giving it, that's exactly right. So if you're going to do it, have a sale or give some sort of discount, give them a reason for that discount. I think it's a good way to go.
Cool. Do you want me to move on?
Please.
Cool.
Okay, so my fourth thing here is to consider implementing cross-sell or upsell flows. So your cross-sell and upsell automations are triggered generally after someone's placed an order, and so I'd recommend using these post-purchase flow to send automated messages that advertise products that are similar to the ones they've recently ordered. So good opportunity here you've capitalized on that new customer, or it could even be a returning customer, but how can you then hook them into their next purchase? And this comes down to the personalization element as well. I'm sure you've all received those random emails where you get sent very uncohesive products that are totally irrelevant to what you might have bought. But I think the key here is to make sure that what you are recommending is personalized to that person in terms of what they've previously purchased and feels relevant. The other thing here is, if you've got a subscription offering, you could look at encouraging your one-time purchasers to subscribe to an ongoing purchase. That's another good opportunity for your sort of cross-sell, upsell type offering post-purchase or post-Black Friday. It sounds obvious for my fifth point here, but I think it so often gets forgotten, and it's to actually just thank your customers, or thank your new customers in particular. It's a great way to build customer loyalty, and very often forgotten. So start by expressing gratitude for their support during Cyber Weekend, show appreciation for their business, and reinforce the value they bring to your brand. I think, again, post-COVID, people are looking for that much more personalized experience, and if they feel like you're not just this big conglomerate somewhere, and it's very much a kind of a brand that they've helped and they've bought into and that they've had great customer service from, I think thanking them, it really builds on that customer loyalty. And you could consider segmenting out to build even further loyalty by sending specific messages to your maybe most loyal customers, or those that maybe spent the most, for example. So you could start to segment down that route to different types of customers. And finally, on this slide, so maintaining a consistent email schedule. So really important point here is to keep up those comms post Cyber Weekend. I think everyone gets bombarded by 1,000,001 emails leading up to Cyber Weekend, and then quite often it drops off a cliff, and you might not hear from a particular brand for a few weeks or even longer. I think one of the key really key points to email marketing in general, not just Cyber Weekend, is to have regular communication and stay consistent. You want to stay top of mind. So if you don't already have one, do make sure you've developed a consistent email schedule. Make sure it's something that you can keep up, that is realistic. So don't go in with something that's you're never going to be able to keep up in terms of your team's bandwidth. Maybe weekly, bi-weekly type comms is a great place to start in order to provide updates, promotions, relevant information to your customer base. I think a good analogy here is thinking about maybe a series on Netflix that you might be watching. If you watched each episode monthly, one episode a month, you'll likely forget what happened in the last one, and it just you like probably just stop watching it. Whereas if it's something that's going on weekly and you're keeping up to date with it, it's very much top of mind. You remember what happened, you're more engaged. So I think that's similar to email. You want to keep up those comms and be providing that value on a regular basis. Thank you. And then final 2 points here. So build hype around Christmas and New Year. So with Cyber Weekend out the way, now's the time to start building your Christmas campaign strategy. So the period between Cyber Weekend and Christmas is a great opportunity to let subscribers know in advance what they can expect in the weeks to come. You might like to use your campaigns to start signaling to subscribers that they can look forward to maybe year-round savings and surprises, not just Black Friday, but I think Will made a good point earlier that you also want to make sure that you're giving a reason for that sale. It's not just a sale for sale's sake. One specific strategy actually that we've seen work really well is to think about launching tiered discounts. So that involves offering a higher discount to those who spend more with your brand in order to boost revenue. So for example, you might have or might offer someone a 10% discount for a purchase of £50, for example, but claim a 20% off a purchase of £100. So you tier the discount depending on how much someone has spent. And I think giving that motivation and also reason to spend a bit more helps, not only just giving a discount or a money off for the sake of it. I think encouraging people to keep spending more is a good strategy to go for. And then last but not least is to create a cross-channel approach. So if you haven't already, strongly recommend thinking about leveraging SMS within your wheelhouse. We actually have a separate webinar and playbook on SMS marketing, which we can share with anyone who's interested. Goes into SMS in a lot more detail. But when I talk about a cross-channel approach, I mean using email and SMS in conjunction in order to bolster your messaging. So not necessarily sending the same thing out via email that you do via SMS. I think email and SMS both have a really important role to play, but they play different roles in terms of the types of messaging that work well for each channel. So be mindful not to bombard your customers. Think about sending different types of messages via those two different channels. For example, we find that SMS is great for gathering customer feedback. It's great for transactional type messages or community building type messages, whereas email is often much better for longer form messages showcasing products, services. So use them in conjunction, but not necessarily sending same message to both channels. I think used in conjunction works a lot better. As I said, SMS is a whole nother ball game, and which we can go into another time. We've got plenty of resources on that, but definitely consider, if you haven't already, implementing SMS. It's working really well for a lot of the clients we're working with, and particularly now in the UK, I think there's been more traction for SMS. It's typically, I think, our clients in the US are a little bit further ahead in terms of SMS and consumers being more open to receiving SMS, whereas here in the UK we've potentially been a bit more reserved as consumers in terms of receiving text messages. But I think that balance is tipping again, and SMS is a really interesting channel to try to leverage. And those are my main 8 strategies there. So I think next Will is going to go into a little bit more detail around sort of in-house versus agency for the last few minutes before we head into the Q&A.
Yeah, just one quick question on that last bit. Have you managed to try out WhatsApp at all?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So we haven't dived into the world of WhatsApp yet. I think that's even a step further into the kind of a personal space of a customer. I think I don't know about you, Will, but a lot of my text messages are basically all from brands, whereas WhatsApp I save for kind of friends, family, as I think most people do.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one. I think you're right. I think there might be more of a rush towards WhatsApp. I think we're still in the early days of brands using WhatsApp. I haven't come across anyone that's used it super successfully yet.
From what I've heard, and this might be the reason why it's been held back a little bit.
Yeah.
The US don't use it as much, not
yes,
nearly as much.
Well.
They're still SMS, iMessage. Whereas, just like you, my actual message, like text message app on my phone, is full of brands and messages that come via websites. So, if I'm on like mybuilder.com or something, trying to find someone to do some work, their responses will come in via text. Whereas everything else, even work, for me. Like all my business contacts it's WhatsApp.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's actually, I almost save the message space for brands and sort of more of that business type messaging, whereas WhatsApp is, I think, more closely guarded by people as their sort of personal space. So it'd be interesting to see whether going forward, whether there is more of a trend towards WhatsApp, or whether that is that sort of close guarded space for people that don't want brands to be involved in. I don't know.
Yeah. Take a look at Holiday Pirates.
Okay.
If they're still doing it. I checked their website the other day, actually, because I was speaking to someone about this. It is still on there. It's basically a WhatsApp bot.
Okay.
So you can say to it, I want to hear about these categories.
Yeah.
And I think every now and again it sent a message saying, do you want to hear about this? Like basically reply with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on what you want to hear about. You reply and then it starts sending you more alerts for that. I just found that because of the business they're in, I was getting 50 to 70 messages every day with alerts on new deals. But I think for other brands, if you can try and if you can just adapt that a bit, so you can get that zero-party data, find out what people want in the messages, and then just drop them into WhatsApp every now and again.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on WhatsApp because I think it could be the next thing after SMS. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops.
Yeah, cool. I just want to touch on in-house versus agency for a bit. I know I see this pop up a lot, particularly on LinkedIn, and never by CRO agencies. People mention that CRO is pointless for brands doing less than 10 million a year. Which is just rubbish. The argument there is that there's not enough revenue, not enough data to be able to run enough tests to get anything to get enough from it. But that makes the assumption that A/B testing is all that CRO is. So CRO works for brands of any size because it's basically understanding your business, understanding your audience, and approaching everything you do with a scientific method, right? So in an ideal world, businesses would be run basically by CRO teams, and this is what we want to do. This is the research that's generated this hypothesis, and this is the test we're going to run to see if this actually works. Realistically, it doesn't happen because people do just make the changes they want. But for example, when you come across a new app, a new widget for your for the website, the initial thinking process should be, why are we introducing this? Why do we think our customers, or how do we think our customers will react to this? Let's test it to see what happens. So it can work for any size business. It doesn't just have to be making these little tweaks and changes on a website. So if you value customer insights, if you want to know what your customers actually want from your products, this is all a key part of CRO. Generally, like how to sell to them better, because you can make changes to your website. If you introduce a new app and it has a 10% improvement to conversion rate on your website, you're not going to notice that, right? Because your conversion rate's going up and down all the time, depending on the day, the time of day, the day of the week, where the traffic's coming from. You're not going to notice that 10%. So you have no idea whether this app's actually performing well. Of course, the dashboard for that app is going to tell you it's incredible, right? Because it's only going to show you the stats that make it look positive. So, if that's really important to you, if you want to know what your customers care about, then CRO is the important piece. If you want to do it in-house, so revenue of less than 300,000 a month, it is going to be difficult to get an ROI with a CRO team. So consider it in-house. If you've got traffic of less than 100,000 a month, you're not going to be able to run many tests. So again, having a full agency is probably not worth it. Like I said, the ROI is going to be more difficult. If you don't have anyone with CRO experience in-house, though, like actual CRO experience, then maybe a consultant or a freelancer who does and can provide some of that strategy and that process is going to be really beneficial to you. You can probably get 60% of the way yourself with a small team, just following good CRO practices. And what I mean by that is research, testing, hypothesis, have a process to it. By good CRO practices, I don't mean have a sticky call to action, offer free returns, that sort of stuff. That's all stuff that you've got to test along the way. So agency, kind of the opposite, really. If you're above 400,000 a month, doing over 100,000 a month, then an agency is going to do a lot for you. It's going to take you to the next level. You get a full service team, right? So a big and common objection that we get is, our digital manager handles CRO, right? Well, the reason CRO agencies exist is because we provide a full service team, right? So you're getting an account manager, a strategist, an analyst, a designer, developer, who all have CRO experience and all do CRO all day, every day on different websites, right? So you're going to get so much more value from them than one person who's had CRO added to their list of responsibilities and probably spends an hour a week on it. You also obviously get access to tech stacks, proprietary frameworks, networks, all the added value stuff. We're able to recommend apps that we've worked with, same as an email agency, really, right? We can recommend other people who can support in other areas. We've got apps that we've worked with multiple times. We understand them better, so we can help bring them in. So if you're not ready for an agency yet, don't wait to get things in place. I think, again, some of this will probably be similar to email, really. If you can't afford an agency, crack on with it. There's still stuff you can do. So obviously for CRO side, make sure Google Analytics is set up properly, and you're tracking e-commerce. Get tools like Lucky Orange up and running. Even if you're restricted on budget, maybe something like Microsoft Clarity, which is free. It can just sit in the background collecting data, right? No one even has to look at it if you don't want to, if you haven't got the time, but just get it in place and just have it collecting data so that when someone does have the time, they can just get started with it. So don't wait for an agency before you start CRO. It should be like from day one, really. You should be trying to understand your customers. It's not just A/B testing. It's not a marketing channel. It doesn't sit alongside PPC, email, social ads. It kind of sits. It's like a data level that sits below it all. And really, CRO is it's a growth process for optimizing the whole business. It's not, like I said, it's not just A/B testing these little tweaks on your website. It's a general, like, what are all the different things we can be doing to improve your business. And that's it from us. So if you want to contact us or me, Will Lawrenson on LinkedIn, will@customerseclick.com, or you can go to the website to apply to work with us. We're taking on 2 clients on the 2nd of January.
Great, thanks, Will. And I'm similar. So Georgie Carter on LinkedIn, emails georgie@pepped.co.uk, and we've also got a complimentary email growth audit. So we'll take a look at your Klaviyo or whatever ESP you're using and give you a sort of top level recommendations, which you might be able to help implement over the next couple of months. But I think, Will, you made a good point there. If brands aren't ready to start working with an agency, I think similar with email, there are definitely a load of basics and foundations that you can just put in place and have a lot of that just running in the background. Just set it up and have it there. It's usually better than nothing, and goes a long way to help guide customers along their journey with you.
Yeah, you can still have a welcome series set up, an abandoned cart flow.
Yeah.
It might not be optimal, but it's because you get that from the experience and from teams. Even setting up the emails, you can get a basic email in place in Klaviyo yourself.
Yeah.
If you want something better, then you need that expertise to come in.
Yeah.
But if you haven't got the budget for it, or if you're not at that revenue level yet, you're going to do absolutely fine with the stuff that's just in Klaviyo.
Yeah, for sure. Great. So I think Tashane's put all the links in the chat for anyone who would like them. And I think we'll leave on this side for a few minutes, and the last 4 minutes we'll do a quick Q&A. So if anyone's got any burning questions, please pop them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. And whilst everyone's sort of thinking about questions, hopefully there are some going to come through. I think I've got a question for you, Will, which is, are there any mobile specific CRO strategies that you've seen work well? And I asked this actually because I think earlier you touched on websites having various different widgets which are all loaded on top of each other, and then when you go on mobile you can't click on the checkout button. And this happened to me the other day, which is so frustrating because you're there, you're ready, you want to give them money and you can't, and it's just the most annoying thing. So yeah, keen to understand more about the mobile side of it.
I mean, as with CRO, everything is kind of test it and see. I suppose the general advice would be go mobile first now. For the vast majority of D2C brands out there, they're probably 65-70% mobile traffic. And I'm probably lowballing that. I only say that because I'm working on some brands that are like $1,500 AOV, and they do tend to get a bit more desktop traffic because it's highest consideration. But for the brands that are doing anything up to about $200 AOV, it's more like 75-80% traffic, 85 even, is on mobile. So with that in mind, just make sure you're always thinking about mobile. You're always thinking about the mobile experience first. You know, there's an app, actually, I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Mobile Simulator, responsive testing tool. I think that's the name of it. It's a Chrome extension. It's probably on Mac as well, I imagine, somehow. I don't have a Mac, so I wouldn't know. It basically, it's a one click. It just sits in your bookmark bar, one click, and it just turns your screen into the mobile view. And it's a pretty decent mobile view as well. It's better than using the developer console. It gives you like a genuine mobile feel to it. You can change which mobile device you're on, but just always be thinking about with that in mind, rather than looking at your desktop, working out what you want to do, and then saying, "Oh, how do we apply this to mobile?" So yeah, I think that'd be the general advice, and then just play around with your website and just try and remove friction or negative friction, because I know we don't have time to go into this now, but there is positive friction, but that's more for like insurance, finance, stuff where you want to make the experience a little bit more complicated, because then people feel more confident in it.
Oh, I like the psychology behind that. That's really interesting.
It becomes obvious when you think about it. Like if you went to do an insurance quote and it asks you for your name, email, and address to give you home insurance, and that was it, and then it gave you a quote, you wouldn't trust that quote very much. You'd probably call them up and be like, "Can you explain this, please? What's the detail?" So generally what we're talking about is the best practice that everyone talks about is reduce the amount of fields on a form. But actually there are cases where it makes sense to have those fields. It makes sense to just complicate things a little bit, because it gives the customer a better experience.
Yeah, great.
I think there's a question for you though. What role does personalization play in retaining customers, and what are some best practices?
Yeah, this is a great one. I think personalization is always something people ask us about, and how to sort of get that element of personalization without it being overly complicated and spending hours and hours and hours on email strategy. I think it does play a big role, and it is, I think, increasingly a more important role in any brand's comms. I think particularly post-COVID, we've seen more of a focus on personalization. I think that's because people are, obviously pushed online. People therefore expect much more of their online interactions to be quite similar to their in real life interactions, and having that personalized experience. So we'd always recommend using as much of your first party data as possible within your messaging. So really making sure that you're pulling in that data to make sure the messaging feels as though you're speaking to someone personally. That might be through personalized product recommendations based on what they previously bought. and having those different journeys that are tailored towards where that person is in their customer journey with you. So it really goes back to the whole sort of life cycle element in terms of what we do as an agency. But I guess there's two elements of personalization. One is what you're actually including in that email in terms of the data and the content, and the other is where they are in that journey, and sending relevant comms depending on where they are. If they're a loyal customer, making sure that you value them, they're a loyal customer, you're calling that out, versus a new customer might have a slightly different approach. And the other point I wanted to make on personalization is around progressive profiling. So just because you've got 10 pieces of data on a particular customer doesn't mean that that's sort of where it ends. You can use forms or quizzes or different types of ways to sort of gather additional information that you might not have over time, and you can then use that data going forward. So quizzes are quite a nice one. They're quite fun and engaging, and a good way to gather additional data from your customer base, which you can then use to further personalize your comms. But yeah, personalization is definitely a key, I think, in email and SMS these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of proper personalization, taking into account what you know about customers, their preferences, what they've been buying in the past. Stuff like first name doesn't bother me anymore.
I think it's sort of standard now. Everyone expects it as a very low base.
Everyone kind of expects it, but I also think people in an HTML email, people wouldn't notice if it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's not in a plain text email, that might come across a bit weird.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot more to personalization than just first name and some basic info like that.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I think we are just about out of time, but yeah, that's it for today. We'll send the recording over to everyone that's attended, and those who haven't, in fact. So everyone will have the recording, and there's a few links in the chat currently, which our colleague Shane's put in there for our SMS playbook and getting in touch with us, both pet and customers who click. So make sure you grab those. If not, we'll see you all on the next webinar. Thanks for your time today. Well, it's been great to chat.
Thank you for having me.
Cool.
Cheers.
Speak soon. Bye.